All right, Panthers, now we're on to metric unit, to metric conversions. We're going to put this in your notebook. So get your notebook out, go to your table of contents, write down the date. The title is metric conversions, and figure out what page number you're on. Go to that page number. All right, so once you get to the page that you're on in the notes, write down metric units in the top. All right, metric units can be used to measure length, kind of like in customary units. We use miles and feet and inches, but in the metric unit, they're going to use different units than that to measure length. It could also be used to measure capacity, like in the customary units where we were doing gallons and quarts and pints and fluid ounces. Metric system is going to have a different unit for measuring capacity. And let's see, it can measure mass, which is similar to weight, a little different. That's a science question for you. But for weight, we use stuff like tons and pounds and ounces. But for mass and the metric system, there's going to be a different unit for that. So the thing I learned about metric system is it's got this mnemonic device. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Don't know if you've ever heard that one before, but that's how I memorized my metric units when I was your age. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Now, this guy is the key. This is the basic unit. That's B stands for basic unit. Now, the basic unit could be the meter or the liter or the gram. But we have different units to go smaller than a meter, liter, or gram, or bigger. This way it gets smaller, this way it gets bigger. So this is actually kilo, hecto, deca, the basic unit, deci, centi, milli. The basic unit is kind of like the ones place in a place value system. The deci, it takes 10 of these to equal a basic unit, so it's like the tenths place. Centi, it takes 100 of them to equal a basic unit, so it's like the hundredths place. And the milli is like the thousandths place. It takes 1,000 of these to make up one of these. So again, it's just like place value. It goes ones place, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. If this is the ones place, this would be like the tens place. It takes 10 of these to build one of these. And it takes 10 of these to get one of these. This is like the hundredths place. And the kilo is like the thousands place. So it's just like the place value. So in the last lesson, or in the last video lesson, you learned about how to multiply or divide if you're going bigger to smaller or smaller to bigger. Here we're going to be multiplying and dividing as well, but we're multiplying by either 10, 100, or 1,000, or a tenth, a hundredth, or 1,000. Turns out a shortcut for multiplying or dividing by numbers like that is just to move the decimal. So instead of actually multiplying or instead of putting it in a calculator, we can literally just move the decimal and that will give us the answer. That's one of the reasons why metric conversions are a little bit easier than customary unit conversions. Okay, so let's do some examples of these conversions. Okay, so if we were measuring length, we could use the meter. But again, we could have something smaller than a meter. We could have a decimeter, a centimeter, or a millimeter. But we could have something bigger. We could have a decameter, a hectometer, and a kilometer. Notice, because there's two that begin with D, the DM is the decimeter, DAM is the decameter. All right, so it takes 1,000 meters to be a kilometer. It takes 100 of them to be a hectometer, 10 of them to be a decameter, 1 of them to be a regular meter. If you broke this into 10 equal parts, it'd be a decimeter. Break that into 10 equal parts, it's a centimeter. Break that into 10 equal parts, it's a millimeter. So here's how you make a conversion with that. Let's say you had something like, hey, there's 2.4 kilometers. Yeah, but how many meters is that? Okay, so here's how this works. We're going from big to smaller, because again, this is big, that way small. If we're starting at kilometer, put like a star there, we're starting there, but we're trying to change it to a meter. So which way do I need to go from there to get to a meter? I need to go to the right. How many? I need to go 1, 2, 3 to the right. So all I do is I take the decimal in 2.4 and move it 1, 2, 3 to the right. So now the decimal's there. And these blank spaces, I could put zeros, and now the answer is 2,400. And that's the answer. Really what I just did there is I just multiplied by 1,000. When you move the decimal once, it means you multiply by 10. Move it again, you multiply it by 100. Move it again, you multiply it by 1,000. So I really just did 2.4 multiplied by 1,000. If you don't, If you don't believe me, put it in your calculator. Put in 2.4 times 1,000. It's going to tell you 2,400 is the answer. So instead of using a calculator, just move the decimal. Let's try another metric conversion. So let's say we have 5,400 centimeters, and we want to convert that into hectometers. All right, so this time, instead of starting at kilometer, I'm starting at centimeters. I'm starting right there, but I want to convert it to hectometer, which is over there. So this time, instead of going to the right, I need to go to the left. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to move 4 times to the left. Now, that means to get the answer, I'm just going to move the decimal 4 times to the left. Now, one thing you have to know, this is a whole number. Right now, it has no decimal, but every whole number has a decimal. It goes thousands, hundreds, tens, ones, and then the decimal. So just to the right of the ones place is always where the decimal is. So I'm going to take 5,400, knowing that the decimal is actually right there, but I have to move the decimal this way 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, so let's do that, see what the answer is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put the decimal right there. It's going to be 0.54. I could actually drop those zeros off because it wouldn't change anything. If you put 0.5400, it's the same thing as 0.54. So I'm going to say the answer is 0.54. That's how many hectometers. Now, really what I did to get that answer is I divided by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. I divided by 10,000. But a shortcut for dividing by 10,000 is just move that decimal over. And that's how I got the answer. Okay, so that's for measuring units of length, because meters measure length. But you can measure capacity with grams. So the basic unit is the gram. Make sure you're writing all of this in the notes. If you need to pause to get caught up, go back and pause to get caught up. Okay, so there's grams, but there's also decigrams, centigrams, and milligrams. There's also decagrams, hectograms, and kilograms. So let's say we had to convert 8.02 kilograms, and we needed to convert them into milligrams. Okay, again, pause the video if you need to catch up, but we're going to try to convert 8.02 kilograms to how many milligrams it is. So where are we starting? We're starting with the kilograms. There's the kilograms. Where are we trying to get to? We're trying to get to milligrams. Well, milligrams are all the way over there. So we need to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 to the right to get there. So let's take this decimal and let's move it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and get it all the way at the end. So all these blank spaces need to be filled in with zeros. Put a 0 there, and there, and there, and there. So the answer is 802 with 4 more zeros after. That means it's 8,020,000 milligrams. Now again, if the decimal's at the end, you don't need to write it because it's just a whole number. But there really is a decimal right there. It's 8,020,000 milligrams. Now really what I did to get that answer is I took this number, 8.02, I multiplied it by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. I multiplied this by 1,000,000, but a shortcut for multiplying by 1,000,000 is moving the decimal 6 times. And let's try one like this. Let's say we've got 2.957 centigrams. We want to convert it to just regular grams. All right, so where are we starting? We're starting with the centigram. Which way do we move the decimal to change the centigram to just a regular gram? Should be to the left. How many times will I need to go to the left? 2 times to the left. So to get the answer, just take that decimal right there and move it once, twice to the left. So now the decimal is there, but I'll need a 0 here to hold my place value. So it's going to be 0.02957. 0.02957. That's how many grams. So really what we did is we divided by 100. moving the decimal this way once is dividing by 10, moving it again is dividing by 100, but a shortcut for dividing by 100 is just moving the decimal to the left twice. All right, so grams measure mass. We did meters, which measures length. So let's do liters. So liters measure capacity. So there's liters, but there's also deciliters, centiliters, and milliliters, and decaliters, hectoliters, and kiloliters. Let's say we needed to convert 8,255 milliliters to centiliters. Okay, so try to think, are we moving the decimal to the right or to the left? And how many times are we moving the decimal to the right or the left? Okay, so if I'm going from milliliter to centiliter, I'm starting here, and I'm going there. So if you said we're going to move one time to the left, you're exactly right. Where's the decimal though? I don't see a decimal in 8,255 because it's a whole number. That means the decimal's right there. But we have to move it to the left one time, so we're going to put it right there. And the answer will be 825.5. So 8,255 milliliters is equivalent to 825.5 centiliters. We really just divided it by 10, but the shortcut was moving the decimal one time. One last example of making metric conversions. And again, these are the types of questions that will be in the quiz at the end of the module. There's going to be, I think, more questions with making customary unit conversions, which was in the last video, but there'll be a couple of these metric conversions as well. All right, let's say we had 8.2 deciliters. We wanted to convert it into centiliters. Okay, so think about which way we're moving the decimal, right or left, and how many times should we move the decimal to the right or the left. All right, so we're converting deciliters into centiliters, so we're going to the right. 1, 2, 3 times to the right. So let's take this decimal and go 1, 2, 3. We're gonna have to add some zeros, 2 zeros, and the decimal's at the end. So it's 8200. If the decimal's at the end, you don't even need to write it. It's just 8,200. There's your answer. And that is making metric conversions. So it's all about moving the decimal to the right or the left. When you're moving the decimal to the right, really you're multiplying by like 10, 100, or 1,000, and so on. Or if you move the decimal to the left, you're dividing by 10, 100, or 1,000. All right, so that's metric conversions. Good luck. Email me with any questions. All right, take care, Panthers.